The night my son told me to leave the house I built with my own hands, he smiled. Not a nervous smile, not an embarrassed one. A satisfied smile. The kind a man gives you when he thinks the fight is already over. What he didn't know was that I had already made one phone call that would change everything. My name is Gerald. I'm 68 years old. For 40 years, I worked construction. Not behind a desk, not in an office. With my hands, pouring concrete, laying foundations, framing walls, building things meant to outlast me. Every dollar I didn't spend on myself went into one place: a house. 3 bedrooms, a small backyard, and an oak tree I planted the same year Helen and I got married. It wasn't a mansion, but it was mine. Every nail, every wall, every corner of it. Helen died 6 years ago. Cancer, the kind that doesn't care what you had planned for next week. After she was gone, the house felt too quiet for one person. That's when my son Daniel suggested he, his wife Renata, and my granddaughter Sophie move in. Help with expenses, he said. Keep the family together. Make sure I wasn't alone. So I said yes. Of course I said yes. At first it was good. We had dinner together. Sophie used to fall asleep on my shoulder while we watched television. For a while, the house felt alive again. But then things started changing. Small things first. Daniel started calling it our home when he talked to neighbors. Renata changed the kitchen around without asking me. New curtains, new paint, new dishes where Helen's had always been. I let it go. I told myself they were just trying to settle in. Then Daniel lost his job. He said it was restructuring. Said it wasn't his fault, and I believed him. So I picked up the slack. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, all of it. I never threw it in his face, not once. But after that, something in him hardened. The gratitude disappeared. The respect went with it. He got short with me, irritable, then controlling. Sometimes he had friends over and asked me to stay in my room so they wouldn't feel uncomfortable with an old man around. In my own house, I kept telling myself it was temporary, that he was stressed, that family goes through rough seasons. Then one Sunday afternoon, he sat me down at my own kitchen table and showed me exactly who he had become. That table had been in my house for 30 years. I bought it at an estate sale when Daniel was still a teenager. And there he was, sitting across from me, hands folded, voice calm, telling me it would be better for everyone if I moved into a retirement community. He had already found one. He slid the brochure across the table like he was presenting me a generous offer. I looked down at the photo on the front. A cheerful little building, white fences, smiling seniors on a bench, like they were trying to sell me peace. Then I looked back at my son and asked him one question. Whose house do you think this is? Daniel didn't hesitate. Dad, it's our house now. Then he leaned back in his chair and said the part I'll never forget. You basically gave it to us when you let us move in. Don't make this difficult. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't throw him out that second, even though part of me wanted to. I just stood up, walked to my room, closed the door, and called my attorney. What Daniel never bothered to check, what he simply assumed, was whether I had ever put his name on the deed. I hadn't. The house was in my name, only my name. It had always been only my name. Patricia was the same attorney who handled Helen's estate. Smart, precise, impossible to rattle. She listened to everything without interrupting. Then she asked me one question. What do you want the outcome to be? I told her I didn't want money. I didn't want revenge for the sake of revenge. I wanted my house back. And I wanted to make sure that when it was over, my granddaughter still knew I loved her. Patricia told me the law was clear. Daniel had no ownership, no tenancy agreement, no claim to the property. Legally, I could begin the formal eviction process. But first, she suggested something better. A letter. Formal, precise, no emotion, no threats, no drama. Just the facts. The legal owner of the house, the lack of contribution, the deadline to leave, and what would happen next if he refused. Cold facts have a way of sobering people up. That same week, I made 2 more calls. The first was to my bank. Years earlier, I had listed Daniel as the emergency contact on my accounts. I removed him that day. The second was to my financial advisor. I wanted my will updated to reflect exactly what I intended. Tuesday morning, before Daniel was awake, I slid the envelope under his bedroom door. Then I went downstairs, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and waited. 40 minutes later, he came down holding the letter. He looked like all the blood had drained out of him. First, he tried to talk his way around it. Then he tried to reason with me. Then he apologized. And when none of that worked, he accused me of destroying the family. I let him say every word. Then I reminded him of that Sunday afternoon. The brochure, the look on his face, the smile he wore while he told me where I should spend the rest of my life. After that, he had nothing left to say. Renata cried, and I'll be honest, that part got to me. She had gone along with it, she had been disrespectful, but I never believed she had built the plan. Daniel had. So I told her something I meant with all my heart. Whatever happened between me and her husband, Sophie would not lose her grandfather. That was never going to happen. They were out in 3 weeks, not 30 days, 3 weeks. Funny how fast people can move when the fantasy ends. After they left, the house was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet, not lonely, peaceful. Daniel didn't speak to me for 4 months. Then one evening, my phone rang. It was him. He didn't apologize right away. That took a little longer. The first call was awkward, defensive, careful, like he still didn't know whether he was calling his father or the man who had beaten him. But a few weeks later, he finally said the words I never expected to hear. "Dad, I don't know when I became someone you had to protect yourself from. I'm sorry." I wish I could tell you that fixed everything. It didn't. Some things don't break clean, and when they heal, they never quite return in the same shape. But Sophie still calls me every Sunday. She's 10 now, and every now and then she asks when she can come see the oak tree in the backyard. The same tree I planted with Helen all those years ago. The house is still mine, and someday it'll be Sophie's. That was always the plan. Some people will say I was too harsh, that family is family no matter what. I actually agree with that. That's exactly why I did what I did. Because if you let people take everything from you in the name of family, one day you look around and realize you have nothing left to give.
If this story stayed with you, if you've ever been pushed too far by someone you trusted, you already know how this feels. Leave a comment below. And if you want more stories like this one, you know where to find them.